I lost about 28 pounds overall, or about 11% of my body weight. Went from 17.5% body fat to 10% body fat, and then my waist went from about 37 inches to 31 inches. So I got lighter and leaner than I ever thought possible. Where do I even begin to explain my journey with the Legion coaching program and my great coach, Henry Dubois? My name is Matthew Huerter. I am a sales executive in the healthcare IT industry. I live here with my wonderful wife, Whitney, my beautiful son, Miles, and my canine companion, Lucy. I started out the Legion diet coaching program seeking a 3-month engagement, and it's funny because it turned into 1 year, and that was at my insistence, not at my coach Henry Dubois' insistence. In fact, and I'll get to this later, but he will tell you from the beginning that he's trying to coach himself out of a job, which a lot of people roll their eyes, but that's not lip service. I started this journey because I struggled with two things. I struggled with being able to get rid of my body fat, and I really struggled with putting on muscle. So I've typically been, what I would characterize myself as somewhat skinny fat and a hard gainer. I have run marathons my entire life. I run about 15 marathons. I run 4 Boston marathons. So I played basketball in high school, and it was my main sport. Played football, run track, run cross country. I'm athletic. So I thought, I know how to do this stuff. So I had been battling injuries with running, and also struggling to lift my kid. So I thought, okay, I need to get into resistance training and lifting, and let's just finally get serious about putting on muscle. And so I knew that in order to do this, you had to eat a certain amount to build that muscle. Well, you can't just go from X amount of calories to adding 1,000 calories in 1 week. And which is what I was doing. I was pounding the shakes and the protein and let's get muscular. And I felt like I was getting a little stronger, but I was gaining weight. And I had gotten heavier than I'd been my entire life. I was probably in the low 170s, and I typically have bounced anywhere around from 155 to 165. And at my marathon peak, I'm at about 155 pounds. So I thought, okay, let's just go jog a little bit. Let's run 10 miles a day and get rid of this body fat. Only I was doing that, but the body fat wasn't coming off. And so my body had become so efficient that it wasn't cutting that body fat anymore. So I thought, okay, I needed some help. So I found the Legion coaching program, and sometimes the stars align. I got paired with a phenomenal coach in Henry, and I'm smiling because I hesitate to call him coach because he's what I would consider a good friend now. But boy, did he exceed any expectations or preconceived notions I had about results. But I was skeptical at first because I thought, well, if I'm at about 170 pounds and I've always been skinny, we just need to turn this fat into muscle. Let's just swap them. Doesn't work that way. So you can imagine my surprise when my first plan from Henry was a cut of eating about 1,800 calories a day. What? I'm gonna wilt away and get blown away in the wind. But what's awesome is Henry just talked me into trusting the process. It's not his first rodeo. He clearly knows what he's doing. And so we went through various rounds here, like I said, but with the first cut, I went from about 167 pounds to about 140 pounds. So I dropped a lot of weight. Well, then that's great because it's like, all right, we got to a certain body fat and waist circumference, and it's time to build muscle. And so then we went from about 140 pounds to 164 pounds. And then I wanted to go through another cut and just learn all this whole process. So then when we cut, and this is the beauty, I went from 164 pounds to 149. The beauty here is that my first cut, I went to 140 pounds with a waist size of 31 inches and body fat of about 10%. After my second cut, my waist 31 inches, my body fat 10.5%, but I was up 9 pounds, which means I put on 9 pounds of muscle. That is just awesome. And most importantly, yeah, aesthetics are great, but what I loved about Henry Dubois was him teaching me about the journey and enjoying the process and feeling good. The looks will come, but he helped me get into that mindset of not worrying about the looks, of enjoying the process, getting stronger, getting healthier, and that was one of the most beautiful things about the process. So through this entire journey, I lost about 28 pounds overall, or about 11% of my body weight. Went from 17.5% body fat to 10% body fat, and then my waist went from about 37 inches to 31 inches. So I got lighter and leaner than I ever thought possible. If I get one thing I could say that I love most about the program is back to Henry telling me that he wanted to coach himself out of a job. That isn't lip service. He did. It just took a year. But that's not because he wasn't doing his job. He, in that first 3 months, I knew there was a longer journey here. And frankly, I mean, if you want to stay happy and healthy, it should be a lifelong journey, right? And that's what Henry accomplished with this. It is now a lifelong journey. I'm done with Henry after 12 months. I should say I'm done with him as a coach. We just begun a friendship, which I think is a beautiful part of the process. It's about relationships, and we clicked from day one, and I couldn't be happier. But that's what I enjoyed most, is that he did teach me how to continue on my own, and he did coach himself, like I said, out of a job, but it was beautiful and it was awesome, and I am confident and happy and healthy and strong. And I would say if you have goals, whether it's fat loss, whether it's increasing muscle, and you're struggling with that, and diet's a part of that, seek out the Legion coaching program and talk to somebody. You don't have to necessarily sign up right away. Talk to somebody first and get their take, and then do 3 months and see what happens. So it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. So thank you, Legion, and thank you, Henry Dubois.